What was that?
Yeah. Telekinetically.
Okay.
Well, okay. That's a good one. Fair enough. Won't be anything. Sorry about that. Oh, you're talking.
Sorry, it's not 7 o'clock yet. You've got 30 seconds.
Have I got 30 seconds? Okay, we'll go. Well, welcome to this meeting of June at the Town Centre event. The third item on the agenda is item 1 to elect your chairman for the preceding year. Okay, well,
I think we were at the same time, so. It's whoever's name you can.
I suggest you, Robin. I'll nominate you.
I'll second that.
Thank you very much. Any other nominees? Thank you very much for your understanding. I wasn't going to say John. We got. Anyway, as I said, thank you for your patience and understanding. It's much appreciated. And second item is item 2, election of vice chair to keep chairman. Nominees, please. Ravina.
I'd like to nominate Fran.
Thank you. Is that second?
I'm happy to second that.
Okay, all those in favour? Thank you.
That is also yours.
And that is you. Thank you very much for Fran being so generous as to vice chair.
She knows it's an easy job, Robin. She's got nothing to do for the whole year.
Unless something drastic happens.
Let's hope not. Right, which leads us on to apologies for absence.
Apologies from Councillor Willett.
Okay, do we accept those apologies?
Yeah.
Can we quickly vote to accept?
We vote to accept them.
Thank you very much.
Decorations Fringe, for most people, as we always do, declare our decorations at the start of the year. If there is anything, members usually update their decorations. There's no interest credited in this meeting. That's really all there is. No business connections for anybody in this, so take that note. Does? Thank you. At which point we move on to the terms of reference. So the terms of reference went to
Minutes.
on the minutes. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm bruised with the minutes. I've read them. They were fine. Can we agree? Can we agree the minutes?
Agreed.
Agreed. Thank you. I can sign those now. Because I psychologically thought they were all right. I apologise. Terms of reference, which is for the committee. Well, you all saw the terms of reference at council. This is just for you to comment if you had any concerns or whether you're happy with the terms of reference. Really, what's the general?
They've agreed to the full council.
Yes, I'm just noting them. So noted.
Okay, well, thank you very much. We noted the terms of reference and so on, which is item 5, which is budget, which you've got our budgets. You can see we work our way through them over the year. Hopefully, like other some committees, hopefully we spend all what we budget for the reaction to the thing. Is there any concerns around those accounts? John?
Yeah, I'd say I think we should praise the staff for getting a good sponsorship income. It's over 1,000% more than we budgeted for.
Thank you for picking that out.
Yeah. I agree to praise the staff.
Yeah. Would you like to, yeah, so we, you'd like those we record that in the minutes, John?
Yes, please. Yes, please do.
That we thank them. It is actually every penny helps.
Absolutely.
Well, it's been building slowly over time.
Yeah,
We
but
had plans on this, and it's been a while ago. And it's obviously been
no, it's part to show dividends, and hopefully over time, that's what we're more there. Without the accounts, you've got the earmark reserves at the end of those. They're familiar to you. You all know what they cover and what they do. Is there any questions on those? There's no alteration, but don't think of those earmark reserves. Some of them we hold for things that we haven't done, and some of them we hold for things we might do. And obviously the Christmas lights one is costs that we'll be laying out on new materials and stuff going forward, which we'll discuss at a later date. And the youth council money will sit here until such time as we know what the young people of Buckingham want to do, which is an ongoing question which we haven't really managed to answer yet. Although staff are working very hard at getting a conclusion, when they do, they'll bring it back to us. So are you happy with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we just note them.
Yeah.
Thank you. Item 5, private emergency. Well, as you can see, interesting discussion around that. Any points around it for the members? Most of it's being done. If there's any outstanding concerns and things that you think we're not doing or we should be looking at again, it's the councillors took the decision that we have a climate action plan, and this is our section of it. We all supported that when it went through.
Yeah.
Are we happy to note that plan then and thank officers for preparing it?
Yep. Yes.
And to see the report from the states on the administration regarding updates of climate emergency was a separate one. Members' views on that? We're happy to note that.
it seems,
David?
it seems to be in line with our emergency action plan. Yeah.
Did I see your hand go up, John?
Yeah, I under the food and drink, I boost it a bit more vegan, vegetarian, or non-vegetarian diets, given that, it's well known that vegan diets, especially vegetarian diets too, are lower carbon. Saying they must offer at least, options. I would say that the majority of their food should be vegan.
David?
I take that on board from Councillor Harvey. However, I think we'd be limiting our scope on getting traders to come along if we were limiting it to traders who will provide mainly vegan fare. And if they are providing vegan fare, they tend not to provide meat on their stores. And I think that we'd be cutting off our nose to spite our face in some ways by doing that.
Thank you. I'm inclined to agree with Fran on that. I don't think we're quite there yet. It may be is that in the future, gradually, because I think there has been a huge shift.
Yeah.
And maybe in a few years we'll be in a position to reduce the number of stalls serving meat, but I don't think we're there yet. And then we could alienate more people than
I'm the councillor, Murray, then I'll come down.
Okay, thank you. I agree with you. Basically, I don't think we should be social engineering people's tastes and what they should eat and by changing the balance, because there will be a resentment built up if you do that, because people hate being told what they should eat and what they should drink. So I think we should just stick with it, and maybe people will change their views gradually.
That's hard.
Well, I guess we've said in the point above that food should be sustainably sourced from good welfare standards for sourced meat products. Are we making that a requirement, or are we simply saying where possible? I mean, are we, there seems to be a double standard here that we are requiring certain things like ethical, we said where possible with ethical fair trade produce. I think the next one should also say where possible. On that basis, if we're applying the same rule to all, if we're saying where possible in all places, fair enough. But if we're only accepting good welfare standards for sourced meat products, then we're already doing what Annie just said we shouldn't be doing.
Annie,
I hear what you're saying. However, I think there is a difference there. There may be certain food products for which there is no fair trade alternative available. For meat products, I think good welfare standard products should be available for all meat products. So I would have thought that is the difference between the two. I also don't think we are telling consumers what to eat and what not to eat, because I don't think a consumer will say, oh, I don't want this chicken because it's, it's a sustainably sourced chicken. That is not telling people what they can and cannot eat, because I don't see anybody saying, no, but I want the chicken that comes from, the factory farming. So while I can understand why you're saying that, I don't think they're quite the same thing.
I'm being economic.
I'm just trying to understand. I believe what Councillor Harvey said is correct, because where possible means, if they can, they can. We're not forcing anyone or pushing an agenda towards anything. Also, there's many other factors to take into consideration, because sometimes certain, grass-fed things or organic things are a lot more expensive, and traders will be passing that on to the customer. And during a cost of living crisis, people might not be able to afford, the best quality that they would probably like. But we have to take these things into consideration. But I agree with Councillor Harvey. If we say where possible, I don't see how that impacts, anything in such a way.
I just come to the chairman, that we have so many different traders, so many different stores, and so many different whatever. I don't think saying where possible is an issue. As long as we're not being prescriptive at this point. I think that's a reasonable way forward. I also think that over time we need to, and I think it is at the time that we're not got the information about the different amount of traders we have, which come to many different events. Some of the events that we run, we don't actually, like Music in the Market at the weekend, they had the right to bring traders in, which we allow because it works with the event and being prescriptive. So I think that it might be worth just recording for a future meeting what we've had, who we had, and what the traders are, so that we all know where we trade, the food fair, for instance, and different people, just to see multiple people to get an actual variance of where it is. But anyway, I'll take Fran and I'll move to a proposal to one way or the other.
I wonder whether the second point there could be changed to include such words as we would encourage sustainably sourced or good welfare standards for sourced meat products.
We would encourage where possible. It all comes into it.
Are you happy to make a proposal?
I propose that,
Yeah. Are we happy to vote on that?
Sure.
Okay, all those in favour?
Okay, unanimous.
I think that was good to discuss it, because we shouldn't ignore it, and we are moving to a different world, which I'll find somewhere difficult to eat. But I have to bring my own corned beef sandwich to it then. But if it gets to that situation, but you are right. The younger generation is changing, and the way that their diet changes, and those older people, I don't know how old, but we just have to suck it and see it at the time. Harvey.
A lot of this is laudable, but is it enforced? For example, we say traders must avoid materials which cannot be recycled or reused. Now, certainly I can think of the food fair, where often you have these little plastic cups about that big, for say sampling, I don't know, gin or something like that. Are we saying those are no longer valid, or are we able to reuse those cups? Because I don't think they fit in the dishwasher.
I'm just going to bring him in, town clerk.
So The previous version of this, because this section essentially goes at the end of the traders booking form, and the version that we were using last year didn't have where there's the sort of 3 or 4 places where it said must now. It didn't say must before. It asked them to, but it didn't say you had to. And then this suggestion on tightening up partly came out of food fair, because we want to be a bit stronger in saying you should not bring those things. In reality, if someone turns up for an event, are we going to turn them away and say they can't trade? No, that would be unfair. But we can encourage them as strongly as possible beforehand and say that this is what we want.
I think they're quite at that level. I think Councillor David and Councillor Gannon might like to say something.
I was just going to say, I think there was something in the report on the food fair, which is somewhere in here, which mentioned that. I've read it somewhere when I went through the agenda.
Yes, it's 3.4 on the first page.
I take Councillor David first, and then get to note it where it is, and except we are working forward.
I think it works better the carrot, not the stick.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if, for instance, at the food fair next year, we notice that one or more traders were using things that we wouldn't approve of, maybe a quiet nudge to them more than, I don't think we should make a huge issue of it. We should be encouraging people to adopt those standards rather than saying, you can't come if you don't do that. I'm not sure.
Councillor David and Councillor.
Sorry, I was just going to say, quite a lot of these little shot glasses are compostable. They're not actually plastic anymore. A lot of them. So we can encourage people to use those.
I was just going to say that for the next food fair, perhaps when people book and they get a confirmation email, we can have, a sentence in there that we encourage the use of recyclable or reusable.
So this is what they get sent.
Yeah.
And the idea is that they work through and they send it back to us and say,
Yeah.
okay, yes, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And we get a little bit of idea before they come.
But just a gentle nudge, even when they, or just a week before, send them a gentle reminder.
I think the point's been made, and I think that we'll one of the action list, and what we can do is, as the events go through the year, we can, if members are agreeable, we'll use the action list against the events, see how we did in proportion to what we intended to do. This is where we're setting our standard, and then we need to actually monitor that we actually achieve that standard. If we don't achieve that standard, then perhaps we can discuss how we can improve it, because it should be an ongoing discussion, not a one size fits all. And taking on point that it's all going to evolve differently. We are in a cost of living crisis as well, which probably making it more difficult for people generally to be make green decisions sometimes. They haven't got any money to feed the house and whatever. So when the economy picks up and things change, all this will become more possible. Are we happy to note the report, but take on the point that I'd like to propose in the chair that we post-event monitor the outcomes of that event against what we're doing with the action list. Then we're actually scrutinising our own actions.
Seconded.
Yeah, agreed.
Is that agreed?
Yeah.
We insist on it every time.
And who are we to criticise that proactive? It also keeps us all focused and if on where we are. Thank you very much. Now we've got through that. TIC, you have.
No, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, the TIC. You'll see you have the statistics from the TIC. It's likely to look at those for a brief moment and note that they are from May to May, but this May is not completely, figures aren't complete. We discussed before meeting, which will show why there's difference. And I'd be interested in members' views because it's a huge part of our budget, what we actually put into tourism information.
I don't see how the blue bar for May last year works. Because you add up the red bar, the green bar, and the purple bar, it doesn't come anywhere close to 400.
Be those who don't say,
Oh, okay.
possibly.
Yes.
It's the only thing I can think
But all
of.
the other places, it seems to fit.
Yeah.
If you add it up, the green and the purple, they all seem to kind of correlate.
Yeah, true.
Whereas that one doesn't seem to.
Okay. I think I can't answer that question.
I unfortunately can't answer that either, but I can certainly go back to our tourist town centre manager and ask her to clarify.
Are you happy with that, John?
Of course, yeah, it's just, I think just.
You know, I mean, it's a good point. What I will say about it is it shows, if you look at the total flow of people through the Tourism Information Centre, it's quite a large draw. And if it wasn't there, those people perhaps wouldn't be using Tourism Information Centre, they wouldn't be in the town centre period on those days. So one presumes they may buy a coffee, do a bit of shopping, and do something else. What members will be aware of is that we work collaboratively with lots of different organisations who do tourism. What you may not be aware is that when it comes to tourism, we probably spend percentage-wise on tourism in Buckingham more than they do in the entire Buckinghamshire Council. For tourism, their budget is about, in memory, I'll stand corrected, I think it's about 15,000. And for the whole Buckinghamshire. I think it's that them stepping into our realms wouldn't be appropriate, but I think that we do promote places in Milton Keynes, we do promote Wadston, Stowe, and other places, and we work, you see it with the, it has been really good, the social media around tourism. If you watch the social media, how we're closely knitting ourselves to current events, not necessarily town council events, but things which boost the local economy, which is good for everybody. So that's quite positive. I noticed John had his hand up again. Sorry, John.
Now, I'm just looking at a trend in the overseas visitors. And I wonder if it happens to correlate with certain royal events. And whether people are still confusing Buckingham Old Jail with Buckingham Palace. I do wonder if we should capitalise upon that a little bit. Buckingham Jail Palace, so we might get.
Can I suggest we find a balcony for John to wave?
By the budget for John for about, I think he's very capable of waving.
Yeah, just be careful that we don't then get lots of irate comments from visitors. I just thought it would be bigger.
John will know, because it was he or I, when they called an Alden Estate Windsor Park. I think whether it was John or I, we both picked it up, or whether it was John, really. But one of us pursued them about the name for the council, so we used the name Windsor without. So I don't think we should step down the road. No, because I think people would draw us back as slightly hypocritical after our previous actions on this. Although I think it's a good point, and actually, if people are coming to this country for whatever purpose and they're shopping in Buckingham, and we should be applauding that. But I do think it might be worth, I'd like to propose that we do a resume of the organisations we work with, a resume of what we put into it and the success that we're having, and send it to the cabinet member for leisure, Buckinghamshire Council, so that he is aware of the good work that's been going on in Buckingham. Because without that, this whole area of North Buckinghamshire wouldn't be having that promotion, and Wadston and different places, and Bletchley Park and other such places, and Claydon House, they wouldn't have the boost that we give them, which we don't actually see any succour or financial interest from. So I ask members to go and look at the social media, and on that basis, I make the suggestion. I don't know if anyone's against that. It's just like it was start communication from a strong point of view rather than a weak one. John.
Yeah, on Thursday, we've got a meeting with the communications strategy group, and we'll be looking at the website, which has just been refreshed recently. And it just struck me that we need a page on there or some bit on there somewhere to explain why Buckingham Palace is named after Buckingham. Just to explain that.
Good idea.
I'm not sure we got there.
Are you happy to take that forward?
I am, I've made a note.
Yeah, and members against that we've discussed is to make statistics, make them aware of them.
No?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Good idea.
Pardon?
Do it the other way around, see if they approve.
Well, I asked, okay, we're going to do it the other way around. Do you disagree?
No, no.
No. No,
Do you agree with this? So,
I just proposed it. I just wait and see if anyone disagrees.
No, I don't disagree.
You've lost me now. I'm really sorry. You've lost me now.
I believe the deputy town clerk says we should vote on whether we.
Well, yeah.
so whether we disagree.
Yeah.
Do we vote on that agreement that we do that? I haven't been seconded, but was it seconded? Okay, this is getting rather complicated, much fun. And what was meant to be something quite easy and sweet was more difficult than I imagined. Okay, so are we happy to vote on that?
Yeah.
Right. And we'll work on that, and we note that communication strategy group, Duke, that was a bit of a Freudian slip there. John Archie mentioned the balcony. Duke Buckingham is going to look at that, and we know the statistics, and we move on to the next item. Thank you. The next one, item 8, just take a little time to look at it, is the memorandum of understanding between us and the old jail agreement. You will notice in yellow there things, but there's nothing in here different to the previous agreement. It's just a matter that it's been updated to represent where we are. Is that right, Louise?
yeah, so the only change really is about who tests the fire alarm. And it's really just regularising what happens and making sure that it's in the agreement. So there's no major changes here at all.
I propose that we accept the
Yeah.
Agreed.
Agreed. Agreed.
Please.
Unanimous?
Louise, point of vote. You must have a vote. Right, okay. Thank you. And which 8.2, which is the receive the update of the old Gaol memorandum, which is pretty much what are we going to happy to agree that?
Yeah.
Just no, it's my wording, the compliance and project manager of the old Gaol memorandum of agreement. The other one is to receive an update on the memorandum, which is the same thing, but there was two pieces of report, so we should agree 8.2 as well.
Yeah.
Agree?
Yes, agreed.
Agreed.
Thank you. Thank you. Right, there we are, which is item 9, which is to receive an update from Amanda on the Fringe. Are you happy to lead us into that, Amanda?
Yeah, the Fringe Week this year is going to run from Saturday the 22nd of July to Sunday the 30th of July. We've got some new events. We're having a jumble sale on the Saturday the 22nd. And what I'd like is if everybody could just fill one bag with jumble. It can be bric-a-brac, clothing, garden furniture, I suppose, chairs, just anything, nothing electrical though, and drop that off to me the week leading up to the event on the 22nd.
See Amanda with his bags around.
See us all coming with massive great bags full of garden furniture.
If everybody donates just one bag and there's 17 councillors plus staff, I think we'll do pretty well. Good. So we're going to sell, it's going to be run by Paula, our committee clerk. It's going to be the Salvation Army building from 10 till 1. And what we're asking, everything's going to be sold cheap. We're going to have school uniforms, so obviously there's people that can't afford school uniforms for their kids, so clean school uniforms. Going to have And we'd like to split all the proceeds between the Mayor's Charities and the Salvation Army, because they're not charging us for the building. And they're going to provide teas and coffees.
So we happy to agree that before we move on to report. Those in favour,
Agreed.
so that we can move through easily with that, okay?
Thank you.
Carry on.
And then there'll be market entertainment on the Saturday outside the old jail. Family fun day, it'll be on the Sunday, that'll be up at Lace Hill, and that's like a bit like the Oxford Fiddle Group, it's part of the Fringe. Basketball sessions will be starting on Monday the 24th, so the first session will be as part of the Fringe week, and it will be with Coach Jenna. So it's Shandos Park from 5:30 to 6:30 for the 8 to 12s, and Portland Park for the over 12s. And both sessions are really successful now.
Yeah,
Margaret.
just a question. Is there an upper age limit for the over 12s?
No.
So adults as well, isn't it?
Yes.
You're going to play them?
Oh, you haven't seen my basketball skill.
I'm going to cover you. Brilliant.
I believe they know her as Margaret Michael Jordan Gate.
John,
You get an update every year from Coach Jenna, and he says that with the older session, they do get a lot of over 18s that come along and just watch. And he does try to encourage them to take part, and he has found some hidden talent among some of them. So that's always good. Play around the parishes. It's no longer play around.
Buckingham Play Day.
Renamed to Buckingham Play Day. So it's going to be basically the same sort of thing with the giant games for ages 0 to 12. It's a free event. So the first one, we're doing 3 sessions in the year. The first one will be on Monday the 24th in Shandos Park, from 10:30 to 3:30. Art in the Market has been a popular event.
Yeah.
And so we're having that on Tuesday the 25th in the Cattle Pens from 1 till 4. So as it has been before, it'll be a free event. You turn up and paint, sketch, or just colour, you know, whatever you want to do. I know there's some councillors that have taken part in the past and really enjoyed it.
Yeah, some of us have rooms and sheets of paper.
And then Tuesday the 25th in the evening is the Oxford Fiddle Group, and I don't think they've missed one Fringe week since they started coming. So that's a really popular event. So it's a ticketed event. So the tickets we hope to put on sale at the end of this week. That'll be through the old jail and online, but there will be more details to follow on that one. Sorry.
Margaret, sorry.
Thank you. Just another simple question, really. Why is the capacity limited to 80? Because the Radcliffe Centre's got capacity for more than 80.
100.
100.
Only 100?
Only 100, yeah. And when you figure in, there might be 12 of them that come, and if they've got people coming with them, and then the staff that are working with them.
They tiered it.
Yeah, I think it's always been 100.
Does it
Yeah.
really? No.
But-
More than it used to be, Margaret, when it was not tiered. Because you had the level thing, and then people couldn't see the audience anyway. I think it's a better venue than it was.
Yeah.
It's a good thing.
But that worked out very well. Anyone who's not been to it should go to it. It's a lovely bunch of people we ever likely to meet. I know you've met them, Margaret, but you haven't, you take advantage of it.
We enjoy it, don't we?
We enjoy it.
And I think this is something to do, something to do with the National Trust. Children's crafts at the Chantry Chapel on Wednesday the 26th. There'll be arts and crafts for children from 10 till 3. And that's another free event run by volunteers from the National Trust. So that should be fun. I'm going to go around the tea shops tomorrow and also speak to Villiers about doing some cream teas again. We did that event in the past. Villiers were very good, and they would offer a discount to anyone who went in with their Fringe brochure. And I think one time they sold up to 60 cream teas just based on Fringe week.
I ate 3 of them.
Sorry, is this Fringe items, are they, what month are we talking of?
July.
July.
Oh, it says June on the top.
It doesn't.
It's the agenda's due. And you might be right, and yeah, just check.
It says
Monday, June the 5th, that's
Monday, 5th of
Yeah, that's the
June.
date
Today.
the day, yeah.
That's the report for today.
Yeah, I think we need to put a month in
It
because
said July, everywhere else.
It says on the
Saturday,
background.
22nd July to 30th of July.
Thanks for clarifying that, for us, because
Sorry?
it would have been a bit confusing for us.
I'm nearly done.
No, I'm just putting the play and the thing so I can go to my granddaughter Monday.
Okay.
There are.
Friday, the 28th of July, there's a theatre workshop. And some of you may know Mr. Boilier. He was the drama teacher at the Royal Latin School. And this is being run by him. It's the Now and Then Theatre, and they're presenting Rumble, a play for today. So you can turn up, there's 2 workshops, one between 10 and 12, one between 1 and 3. And then that'll be followed by a 40-minute performance at 4 o'clock. And that's on the green outside the church. So that should be interesting. We've seen some of the performances that he's arranged for different things in school, and pretty good, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, those of us will remember the one which I think Lisa may remember as well as I did. We did one on the wall, didn't
When I
we?
was mayor.
When you were mayor. didn't you?
Brilliant.
And it was most moving that the way that they interpreted the war and the young people played their part about
Yeah,
the war and spoke. It was
stunning.
absolutely stunning. And what that was both schools working together, of course, which I believe this is. And I mean, I think he's doing a good job.
It's just for anybody, isn't it?
But
Yes, it's for anybody.
This
Yeah.
isn't a school, it's
No,
just school
it's
holidays. Yeah.
And then Friday, the 28th, this year we're going to judge Buckingham in Bloom as part of the Fringe Week. So I'll need to talk to the mayor and see if what time she's available that day.
She's not available at
Not
all
available, okay.
for that whole Fringe week.
Well, we'll change that then.
I would, and neither is the deputy mayor. We've already checked this.
Right.
So this might be perhaps for the chair of the Environment Committee to take forward once we've elected somebody, or for the chair of the Town Centre and Events Committee,
Yeah, we'll
or
sort that.
both of them jointly.
We'll sort that. out.
Yeah,
Um,
so
And maybe previous mayor.
Or
Yeah.
maybe the previous mayor, yeah.
you'll agree with me.
Need more than one person anyway.
yeah, what I was going to say was, we usually have, I think it's 5 or 6 people go out and judge the gardens. So going to launch it this week. The entry forms will go out. They'll be in the library, Tourist Information Centre, and also downloadable online. And then once I get the entries in, we can then decide when you want to go out and judge them. But I will sort of email everybody and ask if they would like to be part of the judging panel.
Right, I could take them the order they put their hand up, which was John, Lisa, then Margaret.
Okay, I've just been playing around with it. And so I'm going to call this the jumbly rumbly widdly fiddly diddly fringe. So that sort of encompasses a lot of the things that are happening in various ways. And I'm happy to give that to you, without any kind of IPR attachment. And the other thing is, I've said this before, I really think it helps if the fringe has a theme. Because the theme then gives somebody like a washing line to hang things on. And it's great that we've got other organisations involved in this, but could I propose that we ask the Fringe working group to think of the theme for next year as well? As I say, I think the theme for this year should be the jumbly rumbly riddly diddly diddly fringe.
I think that's too many words.
Doesn't really chip off the tongue.
Whatever, I'm not attached to it, but I do think we ought to be thinking about a fringe theme for next year.
Okay, well, I think can we agree that we'll look at the theme for next year?
Well, this group can, or the fringe.
Yeah, well, we'll agenda it and do something about that. Is that agreed?
Yeah, agreed.
That's a sensible way forward. Right, which case we move to Lisa?
Thank you.
Oh, you have. Go on, we're keeping comedy night. This is.
It was on the this though, the question, my question was on the
sorry.
Buckingham in Bloom.
Well, you're gone.
I spoke to Terry and he wondered if
there could be a children's garden on a plate competition, and he's willing to give first, second and third prizes for 2 age categories. And he wondered if the competition could be judged in the community garden by the library where you guys are. He's spoken to you about it, he said. So a garden on a plate is his idea, and he's willing to give the prizes and vouchers for it. So he wanted if yeah, I thought it would be lovely.
That's a proposal, please.
Yeah.
I think that's, I think Fran was first actually, so we'll go with that. Those in favour? And we'll write to Terry and thank him for that kind offer. And I bet knowing Terry will do a thorough job.
Yeah.
I'll take you, Margaret, because I believe it must be on the same.
It is.
It is.
Just
Then
to-
we'll let Amanda finish with the
Yeah,
call.
just a quick one, really, but the three of us, Fran, Ravina and I went round last year doing the judging, and we must have spent almost half of our time trying to find one of the addresses. It was quite, it wasn't straightforward at all, was it? And then, I don't know, I'm very happy to do it, to get to be part of the judging again. But, yeah.
I think I know, remember which one.
And also it took a lot longer than I thought, not
Yeah.
just
Oh,
one
it
thing.
takes a long time.
Yeah.
I've been doing it for years. It just takes another time.
Me too.
Yeah.
It is a 2-minute job. Whereas then we'll move back to the report.
Just on that point, would it be useful if the office put together a map that
Yeah.
shows where all the
Yeah.
different locations are?
It might be, it was between Oven Avenue and Oven Crescent, I think, and the address that I think it probably was, didn't look as though the garden was suitable to have gone in for the competition. So we were then thought, oh, it must be the other one, the other Oven, but then we couldn't find that address at all, so, or another one we couldn't find, you know.
I'd be happy with the suggestion that we'll have a map.
Yeah, have a map would be really
Yeah.
helpful, I think.
And
With
golf club.
what 3 words?
We have got a big trolley.
Okay.
I'm not sure how many houses could sit in it. But it's quite handy.
Terry used to drive us round, so it was me, Geraldine, Terry and somebody else, and he used to drive us from address to address. We didn't, we never used to walk from
Okay,
address
so
to
many
address.
volunteers.
We drove so far and
Yes.
then
Okay.
walked, didn't we?
Yes.
I think we parked
We parked
was
at
it?
Western Avenue.
Western
didn't we?
Avenue, but then we covered so much area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. We agree that people please write in, say if you're going to be available to be part of the judgment team. The more people they have, the better. Whatever. Margaret's already offered me to be part of that, would be very grateful to see. And Ravina?
Last year when we did the judging and we came across the garden, which the whole street had done,
Hmm.
the garden didn't really fall into a category.
Mm.
So,
So they put special commendation. didn't
yeah, so I was wondering, could there be like a more community-based project garden or something?
We used to have a
What
community.
I- I dropped that last year and we put in a wildlife garden, but what I've done is, and I was saying to the deputy town clerk this afternoon, is I've reintroduced community garden as well,
Yeah.
based on that particular street.
Yeah, and
Whether they'll enter again.
one of the categories was very difficult to find anything.
Mm.
I think it might have been the wildlife.
Yeah.
Issue historically, perhaps members remember some of the collective homes used to put in, and that where people live in nursing homes used to put in their garden. That's what
Whitfield and that.
came to a very
Yeah,
different
too.
thing when you were judging one person against the other. Not necessarily the community garden came up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you were putting one neighbour against the other, and they're all very nice. I think Amanda's covered that for us, and we say thank you. Is there anything else on the? No, in which case Amanda go into the comedy night, and we'll see if it's as funny as what was just said.
Probably not. Comedy night is on Saturday the 29th at Tanlaw Mill again. So
Yes.
it was very successful location last year. We're still working on finding out who the comedians are going to be, but as soon as we know, Bethany will let everybody know. So that should be.
Yeah. John, sorry, John.
Yeah, but feedback from the Students' Union, because Margaret and I had a Contio meeting a couple of weeks ago. Some of the students thought they could just turn up on the night and just get tickets, which I think was a bit of an issue, I suspect. I wasn't there. Couldn't be there.
No.
But other than that, it was really appreciated. The university really value this, I think, and it's a great coming together of town and Gaol.
Sorry.
Councillor Davis.
Councillor O'Donoghue and I were on the gate on the door all night, and not one single person came
Nobody asked.
to try and get in.
Nobody asked if they could buy tickets at the door. We had
No.
tickets. We had about 13 or 15 to sell at the door. Nobody asked.
Nobody came to the door
That's weird.
at
So that's
all.
what we were told, wasn't it, Marjorie?
Well, yeah, I think we were.
Yeah.
We had some, so.
Sorry, just from, apparently they were ringing the bar to ask for tickets.
Oh.
And the bar was saying, no, you can't.
Oh,
I didn't read the small print, considering the students, they should know better.
Well, they've all got phones, they can
Well-
call them online.
But since some linkages not happened, so we had tickets we didn't sell, then that's a shame, isn't it?
Unfortunately, if you'd attended, it was very well attended. It was the tree in the middle of the room. Major discussion point about the tree in the middle of the room, and about they'd never been to a comedy night with a tree in the room, and that gave them an in on quite a lot of it.
And the curtain's been taken the mickey out of those, isn't it? The
Yeah,
town
usually
hall.
the town hall was the curtain.
And the
Chandeliers. Yeah.
Chandeliers. Comedians will focus on something, but it was
Yeah.
tremendous, and we it was a successful event. So thank you for the work that's been done on that, and working with the university to make it work. There's been a lot of conversations. I believe, till corrected only today, that the agreement between them was formally done. Councillor Davis.
One thing that did cause, I think, a little bit of problem was that there was film place on the same night in the Vincent building, so car parking was really tight.
Yeah.
Having the two events going on at the same time. So I think that's possibly something that we need to
Maybe liaise with them.
liaise over.
Yeah,
Well,
because another thing that we looked into last year, it was only because we.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, there was actually a report on the comedy night.
There is a report.
Right, sorry, sorry.
So shall we
yeah.
take the town clerk's
Then,
point and wind back from there and move to?
and then on Sunday the 30th, I think most of you know Alex's Angels charity. They've done this before in Buckingham, and he also organised one in London. It's called the Buckingham Monopoly Trail. It's based on the Monopoly board. And it'll be different locations throughout Buckingham. And you form teams of, say, 4 to 6 people, pay an entry fee, and you're given 3 hours, I think it is, to go around and find all these different locations on this board. And you have to have proof that you've actually been to them all. Then you go back to where you started off from, and there is a prize for the winning team. It's £25 a team, but you do get a T-shirt as well out of that. But it starts at the cricket club. It starts at 11:30 in the morning and finishes at 2:30. So if you can, it would be nice to form a team and go and have a go.
Right.
There'll be a lot of walking. When I spoke to him, he said not to tell people to drive to the different locations because they are spread out all over Buckingham, but to walk. So he said there would be a lot of walking involved.
Right.
Thank you. On those things, a couple of things I wanted to say on the report, and it came out of the conversation. We do need to make, if members agree, or make a big song about the fact that the player in Buckingham, the name, and not player of the parish. Because if you recall, it was something that we started with spot on, and we bought into where our officers have gone away and actually resourced this, and now we're doing the same thing, the same money that we put into it. So I'd like to propose that we do a bit of a
It's on the action list that we will do a press release and make a fuss in run up to the first.
okay.
We had agreed to do this at the last meeting, but we hadn't had the name because the office was going to talk about names. So
we
that's-
can't you to come up with a name.
We did agree with the name as well at the last meeting.
Right, okay.
Well, better memory than all of us. Okay, in which case we'll do what we've done it again.
Well, I think you do what's on the action list.
Yeah.
Because I know Lisa particularly, when we've done these events, all the confusion, the fact that we paid for it and other people
Yeah,
got
it would
credit.
irk me a little bit that the town council paid for it.
And other
Yeah.
people were taking credit for
Yeah.
it. Council pay out, they need to see where they went.
Yeah.
Right, are we okay with that now, man? Are we happy now to know the report? And if you look on the end of the report, just say report on the comedy night to follow, which the deputy clerk pointed out. So we can do that again. Right, if we move on to the next item, we've noted that the skate park, just to note really the recommendation within there, any points to be made thereafter. What members' view on that? Councillor Dyson?
Yeah, it's sad that we're not going to do one, but I understand why, because they're going to be hopefully building it when we would have our normal skate park competition. So long as they do what they've said that they're going to do and have a skate park event, then I'm happy that we don't do one, but I will be annoyed if they don't do it and then we don't do it, because it's something that our young people really look forward to.
Harvey?
I think I reported this in another committee, but I have written to the person who was the member responsible for this, following through on this, to say if there's any way that they could, mount a kind of temporary structure.
Yeah, you did.
Youngsters not had any plans.
No response. I think we have to recognise that it isn't our land. We have to recognise that I think we've been waiting about almost a dozen years for this project, if not more. And
we first went down.
yeah,
I think you just started.
and I probably said in another meeting, I apologise for that again. Our first time I went down with the late Councillor Eddie Catt, stood there and suggested to an officer that we put a skate park up into the section 106 uplift. And we've lost Eddie for quite a number of years. So but I do share Councillor Donnelly's concerns that they don't actually do an event. And if they do an event, I think we should, with agreement, write to them for ask the details of that event that they're planning. If you see what I mean.
Yeah.
I'll come to Councillor Dainty and get back to Don.
Thank you. I'm very confident that they will do an event when the renovated skate park is completed. I think my concern is they aim to start in July, and that could slip because they were due to do it about 2 years ago or even 3 years ago. And then I think we wrote and suggested that doing it over the school summer holidays wasn't the best time. And then, of course, it's then not happened for all this time. So that would be my concern, that although there will be an event, who knows when that will be, because who knows when this is really going to start.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would imagine, judging by the we had 1 year we had a green Buckingham flag raising. Next year, and then I think whatever event we have, I think it's important that we write to them, say that we would like to have knowledge of the event. We also like to face the fact that we've been running successive events. If they run an event, we'd like to see whether we can work with them on that event. Because there's information that we know, being local, that they don't know. And we've got contacts around this committee and in offices with the young organisation. I'd like to think that we should do that, and then let's hopefully they do this.
So I did speak to the lead officer at Buckinghamshire Council about this. It was interesting that you've written, John, about a temporary structure, because I asked about that as well, and the officer thought that hadn't had any indication that that was going to happen. So I don't think that's very likely. They were confident that there would be an event at the end. They also said they would tell us when they knew when that was going to be, so that we knew. They also said that it's not being run by Buckinghamshire. They were quite clear on that. The event would be run by the contractor, which is Spaces Limited. So it may be that there isn't much scope for us to jointly run an event with this private enterprise. Obviously, we can.
I still think I'd like us to write to them. They've told us that it's not going to be run by Buckinghamshire Council, but they haven't told the local member.
The event.
No, the event at the end.
Yeah, they haven't told the local members that either. So I think that there's always, with this project, there's been so much weight and so much hope and so much no clarity at that time in that. I'd like to propose that we write to the organisation, because the fact is that we can do something about informing the very people that they'll want to go to the event. And we may be able to, if it's as little as giving them an address, telephone number, youth club, and different people that may wish to do it. So in a cooperative way, and also you might learn something from them for future. In any way, if they're doing this, we might pick up some things that we didn't know, which we can roll into our events in the future. Is anybody happy with that proposal?
Can't hurt that, can it?
John seconded that.
If I can just add, I think, if we write to the company and say we're willing to help them, because we've got resources at our disposal that would help them out it. I can't imagine they're going to say no, are they?
No. Are we happy with that? It may be we get a no, but we shouldn't be unsociable, should we?
Yeah.
Is that,
Sorry, can I just clarify if you were seconding that, John?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, those in favour? Thank you.
Okay, unanimous.
Unanimous. Right.
Sorry, before we move on, could you read the recommendation on the report?
And the recommendation on the report. Thank you.
Can I just propose one more thing, Chair?
Go on, all right.
Can I just recall the new skate park, the Godot skate park? As a waiting for it in rain. The Sam Beckett play will appreciate that.
I talked with something tonight. The Sam Beckett play and the Dodder. You're full of suggestions, John. Unfortunately, I don't get anyone really very catchy. But keep going. They're giving us food for thought.
I think it was a joke.
I'm joking.
Chair.
You know I am. He knows I'm joking.
Well, that said, yeah, it is a joke, obviously. But I do think we ought to think about what the name should be. Are we going to give it a name?
We need a name. It's called skate park.
Fucking skate park.
Or we could maybe give it a name. I mean, just.
Like what do you
Should be
want?
the other people that call it whatever they want.
Okay, fine.
Don't be able to do
What,
that.
give it. Call it
That's
what
skate
you
park.
like.
They're all saying we're not together own it. It's only owned by the Lions Charity.
Skate park.
And the Buckinghamshire Council don't own the land either. It's part of the Lions Charity Trust land.
They might call it something.
Well, I'm sure they'll call it.
Skate park.
Yeah, they'll call it skate park. We'll have no control of that. We can then discuss whether they give it the appropriate name. Okay, right. Thank you. I think we've done a good skate park schedule. Bonfire Night, the report is attached in. It goes along the recommendations in the action plan, the recommended agreed plan, and plus. So Andy?
Yeah, we accept the recommendation that we can't stop Buckingham Tail from doing the charitable work and allow glow sticks.
Don't allow glow
No.
sticks.
They're not.
No glow sticks.
They're not selling glow sticks.
Not it?
No.
No. But read your report, Sandy.
Okay, we'll let you come back. I'll take Councillor Davies, I'll come back to Liz and go back to Andy.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I basically accept the report that Buckingham Table have confirmed that they're not planning to bring glow sticks to the 2023 Bonfire Boroughs event 2.5 in the report.
Yeah.
We note and accept the report. My
I'll
proposal.
second.
Well, so what are they going to do?
Doesn't say.
So that our discussion with them was that they wouldn't bring anything. We offered various options and we talked about various options and they didn't want to bring anything else. but they still wanted to be able to come and collect donations for charity. And that's my proposal, is that we allow that to happen, because obviously they are incredibly helpful coming back the next day to help clear up the litter.
Yeah.
Appropriate to allow them to continue to collect.
Councillor Murray,
The reason we agreed for glow sticks was to stop people bringing
Sparklers.
sparklers. In the 16 years that I've been clearing up that place after the event, I've never yet found a glow stick on the ground. But in all those years, I found every year sparklers. Still, after we telling people not to come, still there's sparklers. Still think that I can't see the reasoning and why we don't allow glow sticks.
well,
Like it's going to make a big difference to the overall condition of the earth, when they're just having a war in the Ukraine. If one missile destroyed all the things that we're trying to save, you know. And I just think it's just a pet project.
completely understand
Council.
your, having worked in it for so many years, Andy, unfortunately, whether we like it or not, we've agreed in the action plan to work to reusable plastics and such like. So we're sort of now by the fact that we've got to operate under the full council's action plan, which elements we've got to do. But before we close this subject down, I think we should record Andy's concern that we are no longer doing them. I think it's a reasonable thing to do, and if there's an environmentally sound option comes forward, which there all will be, we've discussed it. But
There is, I think we found that out last time, but I'm assuming that you put that to them
yeah,
in these discussions, and they said no.
No.
Do you know why they said no to the environmentally friendly glow sticks?
Expense.
I think it was probably from that
Expensive.
point of view. But ultimately, it's it's up to them. And I think as well, with any of these things where we make a change, we can always look at it afterwards.
yeah, well, I think we review everything. So let's, if members are happy, and we've got a proposal from Councillor Davis to note the report, we're happy to accept the recommendations.
Yeah.
Are you happy to do that?
Yes.
And further to that, we'll bring.
Sorry, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 7 in favour,
Right, and then I'll,
and then 2 abstain.
yeah, and one abstention.
One against.
And 1 against.
Because we could always ask them what the difference
Yeah.
of their donations they
What I'm going
take
to suggest is that
from
we,
last year to this year.
yeah, what I'm going to suggest is that the officer's done the report, discussed it before and brought it back. We don't need to do the discussion of what, where. What I am going to suggest is, counting that Councillor Marr has worked on this event for years, that we bring this back at a future meeting, discuss ongoing discussions about something that they can do, which maybe chat, that might come out with officers between now and then, and I'm sure we'll do that, because we shouldn't say no forever and yes forever. It's an evolving thing, and you suggested that we discussed too about the environmentally. I think we picked out.
They already have.
Yeah, so I think we just carry on discussion, know where it is, and that we will carry on discussion, no more than that. Okay.
Because this decision impacts on what happens at the Christmas lights switch on, because when they bring the Santa and then they were giving out glow sticks then.
This is why I just suggested if we find out what their donations from the fireworks night is this year compared to last year when they were selling the glow sticks, we will then have an average of what they, but to mark up with the Christmas light switch on, I think it's a bit difficult.
I think what we need to do is to.
Because they're two different
Each
events.
event needs to, we can't talk about Christmas parade, it's not on the
No.
agenda. What we've got to do, we know the report, and if members are accepted that we'll continue to review this. I think that's the most sensible thing we can do. What we can't do is do the review in committee today. And what we'll be doing is review.
Discussing it,
We're
not reviewing it.
discussing it, we're not actually reviewing it. I think we'll just continue to monitor these things with the action plan, with the budget plan, and bring it back, and everything will change. As already been suggested, it's a live document, so we are there, on members who accepted the principle, we'll bring it back. That's all we need to do. Are we happy to move on to the next item, which is a nice elongated report on the Swan Trail, of which I do believe they've done a couple of graphic pieces on. Who's leading on Swan Trail?
It's town centre manager.
Okay, so who's going to take us through this report in general?
We've got you a quick run through.
Yeah, please do.
So it's progressing really well, and the launch date for the trail is quite soon. It's 24th of June, Saturday the 24th of June. All of these sponsorships and artists and have been paired up and are in the process of painting or have finished painting their swans. So there's been some lovely photos on social media if anyone's been following along. Beach Briggers put theirs up today, which is a swan on one side and a skeleton of a swan on the other side, which is rather fabulous.
It really is.
I don't know if I'm going on with that. Yeah.
It's amazing, it's really good. So they're all being picked up the next few weeks, getting ready to go out. The launch will be on the 24th, and there's going to be some small activities outside the council chamber. It's going to be decorating biscuits and some other sort of small activities, and then handing out the maps. Some elements will be similar to the Otter Trail in that there'll still be badges and stickers and things, and a paper map that you can fill in as you go round. On Bucks Floor as well as the paper copies. And it's in budget at the moment, so that's good.
Councillor Polly.
What are these swans made out of?
Technical question.
No, because it's just whether they're
It's wood,
sustainable and
they're wood, and they're massive, because we got one at Youth Club,
Yeah, I would.
it's humongous.
I think
so we're destroying
parts
some
of them are
trees somewhere.
recycled materials, aren't they? And then parts of them are wood, if I remember
I mean,
correctly.
the plinth and everything's wood, but the swan, it feels and looks like wood,
It felt like wood when I touched it.
right,
I can be corrected. I think it's plywood, which is recycled wood.
okay,
And I think I saw one, was introduced to one, in the skeleton base, which was white, I think, and painted white.
well, they're all painted white, because
Yeah.
ours came white,
Yeah, they were painted white when I touched it, and I think it felt like marble.
yeah,
But
yeah,
these are what we've agreed, hence where we are, and we're doing this in partnership with the funding from the community board.
yeah,
So we are where we are with the project. Of course, we discussed what.
I think there was a previous report that said what the exact makeup was, so I don't know off the top of my head. I can find out and let you know.
So we let Andy know what we're doing.
They're not plastic.
I want to see
They're not
whether it's
plastic.
They are.
sustainable or
We're not made out.
the wood is recyclable and the
It's some sort of
paint
wood.
is from a friendly place.
Okay, in which case, are we happy to agree recommendation? No.
Yeah,
Right, all in favour? Thank you. Good.
Valid point,
I
okay.
was-
Valid point.
Yeah, it is a good point.
Only because you're having a go at my glow sticks.
I'm not, I'm really not having, I can assure you about that. I can assure you, I've bought many of them for children in the parking set. To my utter confusion. Right, to receive fees for Lace Hill Facilities Town Centre Manager. I don't think there's anything much to say on that apart from most of them agree with the board.
what's recommendations, Robin, it's 3,
Yeah. I'll find the reason. That's the one before.
I'm happy to go with all 3 recommendations, if it makes it easier,
Yeah, I agree.
yeah.
Okay, all in favour? Okay, that's unanimous. Okay, right. Volunteers.
Bless you.
Thank you.
That's the next report, volunteers. Town clerk, you've got to take us through that, Louise.
So essentially, it came up because we did a comedy night, having not done a comedy night for ages, that sometimes we have volunteers who come to our events and they fulfill a specific role that if they weren't doing that thing, we'd have to pay a member of staff to come out and do. And it seemed a bit churlish that they were then also paying a ticket to go to the event. And that didn't really seem particularly fair or encouraging people to volunteer. So put together a proposal that if the committee agrees that if a volunteer is coming along, they're fulfilling a work type role, so a specific role, that they could have a free ticket for that event rather than having to pay.
Right. We'll go this way. Rebecca, then please, Fran, then please.
I'm just trying to understand. So if they're doing some sort of role within a venue.
Within a venue, and it's
Yeah.
paid for events.
Yeah.
They qualify as a sort of official volunteer at that event, and they can have a free ticket to actually watch the
Okay,
event that's
fine.
going on.
Because I was thinking if they're doing something at the event anyway, they can watch for free. Why would they need a ticket?
In the past, people have bought tickets.
Yeah, we
Okay.
can bought tickets to it.
But that was on a matter of principle.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
bought tickets on a matter of principle because it was going to the council and I volunteered to do that. As we all councillors do, volunteer to be on the
Okay.
council.
Okay.
That's the same principle.
Okay, we'll go, come back, we'll go to Lisa,
That's Fran first.
Brown first, then we'll come to Lisa. Thank you.
I have no issue whatsoever with paying for a ticket, if I'm gonna go, and also, lending a hand, volunteering to do things. Don't have an issue with it.
Lisa?
I was going to declare an interest because somebody volunteers at the comedy night and who buys a ticket but then would benefit from a free ticket. I've got to declare an interest in that because that's £15.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're absolutely spot on.
Thank you.
Well spotted there, Lisa.
Thank you.
We
So
don't
I
have to
can't
declare
vote in it.
You can't vote on it.
Is it worth asking if anyone else needs to declare an interest?
It'd only be Fran because Fran helped on the door and
Yeah.
probably helped
Yeah.
on the door.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I think it's a case that we'd be getting paid for it, I think.
so we won't vote on this item.
I think I understand where they're coming from. I'm going to come back to Rabina, then I'll come back to Andy, because we've got a point to make.
So if the volunteers are buying tickets, that takes away from people who actually go in and watch. Is it not?
No, because the numbers have got, all of the people that are there have to be included in the numbers.
Right.
And
Yeah, so there's a full event capacity and then we'll sell less tickets than that in order to make sure that there's space for the people that are there that won't be buying the ticket.
Right, okay.
Staff. And carers tickets as well we give for free.
We have done that.
Yeah, as opposed to what Fran suggested, I think volunteers should be able to, I mean, if they're there, why would they need to buy a ticket when they're volunteering?
I think that's what the idea of the recommendation.
Yeah. So,
Come to Andy, then we'll try and muddle our way through a vote. Andy?
I'm with you, Ravina, in a way that if they're going to be there, it's up to leave it to the individual council whether they want to buy a ticket or a matter of principle, or they don't want to buy a ticket. I'm quite flexible about that. We do it at the fiddle group. We have volunteers. We have been doing it for year dot. But I still pay for the ticket because it's a matter of principle with me that the money is going towards print and everything else.
I think, before I come to John, I think that we're trying to assess the option that because it might not be a councillor, it might be somebody else in the community who asked to come and do something on behalf of us, then we're charging them to be there. It might not always be a councillor event, it might be a past councillor, it might be other people, and then we'd be charging them to be at the event. But that's the tenure of what this is about. It is always up to you as an individual to do what they do. And I think on that basis, it's easy. I'll go to John, and I'll come back with John on his hand up.
I just think in terms of how, given that most of the volunteers that we're talking about here are existing town councillors, this doesn't sit right with me, I don't think. I think, as you just said, Robin, that it could be people who are, other than were not town councillors doing this sort of stuff, in which case I think I agree with the policy. But I don't really agree, because it just doesn't go. It feels like we're rewarding ourselves, and we know what, we've got to be, we've not only got to have integrity, we've got to be seen to have integrity as well.
Okay.
As town councillors. So I think, therefore, I think that it needs somehow rewriting.
Okay.
I don't think we should do it tonight. too much.
I understand, I'm listening to everyone, and we're being,
I think Andy was.
yeah, go on, Andy.
As I said earlier, we leave it to the council to decide. If they want to pay, they pay. If they don't, and because they're volunteering, then that's fine by me. It's a matter of principle for each councillor, how they feel about it.
I think we've been in there.
I was just going to say, I mean, if there were people of a wider demographic being councillors, you know, it would maybe put someone off if they had to pay and volunteer at the same time, because, you know, say, for example, if my kids were younger, I'd have to pay for someone to look after them so I could volunteer and then buy a ticket as well. And therefore that would rule me out of volunteering.
But on the legal side of it, it's very unlikely that we'd have an event over £50. And as councillors, if you receive over £50, you have to declare it. So none of our events are at £50. We all try to keep them legal. There will be no legal time that you would have to declare it again, because it doesn't come up to £50. I think that if we've got somebody who hasn't got any money as a councillor, then they won't come to it. That's a really good point. And if we've got someone who's got children who's got to pay someone to look after them, and then they're paying to come to the event, they won't get involved. So I think that we should somehow nuance the wording to recognise all those things. And we've had people declare interest in it.
I'm not voting in it.
And not voting in it.
The recommendation actually reads, it's recommended that volunteers fulfilling a specific role at ticketed town council events are offered one free ticket each for the event at which they are working. So that's not precluding people from actually paying for a ticket if they feel that they wish to.
Can I just say, if you could word it that if they were not offered, but you know, if you're at an event, this is the part I find strange. If you're volunteering at an event, you're doing a job. If people weren't volunteering, you'd have to pay someone to, you know, be a steward or do the ticketing or whatever. So I find the whole notion that you would pay to help out a bit strange. But then if you want to donate to, say, the mayor's charities or whatever, maybe there should be an option for each person.
We need it to the individual, really.
Yeah, so if you're volunteering and your ticket is free, there is an option for you to donate to the mayor's charities or the town council or whatever.
I think we've had a good discussion around the morality of this, the difficulties of the prejudice interest, the actions which have passed, and I think this is not meant to undermine anybody else's individual action. It was put on there because it's obvious that even if, from the point of view of the council, when volunteers are doing things, we're not paying a council member to attend that event. And on the risk register and the action that we do, that's a good thing. We can count them on the attending people. So I think the recommendation in itself, I'm not able to change the wording. If someone can think of and adding the word in and taking the word, I think it's only right that I propose as chair the recommendation as it's come from the office, and the office is drafted.
It does say offered.
Offered. And if it's not seconded, it doesn't go forward. And if it's voted on,
I'll second it.
yeah, and then we vote on the recommendation, and then we see where it falls. I think that's the best way forward.
Sorry, can I just clarify, are you proposing?
I'm proposing it,
And
and you
seconded?
second it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we can vote on it, and we for how people feel comfortable. And then if the majority carries it, it carries it. If it doesn't, well, it's lost. Those in favour of the recommendation.
And the key word is offered.
Yeah. Okay, those against,
And
those abstaining.
3
I think we got there, didn't we?
Yeah.
But I think it was a really good discussion about it. All the points made were absolutely bang on. It's how it looks, not what we do. Right. Item 15, update on representative of outside bodies. I believe that's anyone who's on an outside body. Only I would say a couple of things. That I recognise that there's a report which will go to Cabinet next month, and on dementia. I ask members to read it, might be something we should discuss at council about, whether I won't say anything else, apart from it interests me entirely, having been involved in seeing the report produced, I'm probably gonna think we ought to discuss it as a council. But I'll say nothing more on that. An outside body, I think that's thank you. In which case, item 16, events review, which you can now discuss your comedy number, which you all wanted to discuss enthusiastically, but we weren't actually on it. Right, comedy night, you've got the report prepared by the events coordinator, and that's what we're going to discuss for the comedy night. Do you want to take us through it before I take it, John?
It's be the deputy temple.
Are you doing this? Okay, right, far away.
So essentially, as anyone who attended knows, it went really, really well. Everyone was very happy. The main thing that popped up at the last minute and that people might not have realised was that because the room is such a strange layout, we hadn't been entirely sure how the chairs were going to lay out until quite close before the event. And at that point, we decided to reduce the number of tickets that were being sold. And then they found that actually they could fit in more chairs. It was all well below the fire regs capacity of the building because we ended up with quite a large space that's going to because of the train. So there's a bit of experimenting with ticket numbers, and we're happy and talked to the student union. We had a watch-up meeting with the student union, and we're happy that we can go to 130 next time. And a slightly shuffling of the layout to make sure that we're happy with that. There's a few other things that didn't go, it's the first time using the venue that we didn't go quite as we had wanted them to. And so we, although they were fantastic partners, and so we've put together a written agreement between the two of us, it's just a working document for our officers and theirs that's really clear on who's doing what. Some of the bits about the fire safety announcement at the beginning, that's all of it in there, so that we know how all of that's going to run next time. So it's good. All went very well. They're available to do it again on the Saturday, the 29th of July, which is in Fringe week. That's in their sort of first week of term, basically summer term. So and they've also given us some tips from their officers about who the students might like to see, which we have passed on to our comedy agent to see what they can do, what comedians they can attract.
Thank you very much. And what I'm going to do is, I think Margaret, Lisa and I, and Don, will go that order, if that's okay. And Margaret?
Yeah, I thought it went really well. The good atmosphere. I did have concerns about fire safety. If there'd been a fire, whether I would have been able to get out. I did have a good scout round before it began to try and work out how I would escape. And I'm not sure I did find a particularly good route because of the way the chairs were laid out. So I think I was concerned about that, and I did mention it.
And that's something we talked about with them, changing the layout of the chairs to make that easier.
And talking of chairs, at Pontio it was raised because they had to hire the chairs, even though the university must have hundreds of chairs, but it was raised at Pontio, and it looked as though that would be sorted for next time.
Just in response to that point, we, I think it's total missed messages. When we booked them, they said they had the chairs, and then I think it was discovered by officers that there were no chairs, and then they went and hired them. Is that correct?
Yes, they were expecting to have chairs. They then didn't have access to chairs, and they ended up having to hire chairs. But I believe that's been resolved, and they will be able to use the university chairs.
So I think that question's answered. Really wasn't a negative.
No.
It was a learning curve. Lisa?
Thank you. I think it was an overkill on security. We went with getting in a security person because it's what we've always had at a town hall, because it's what we got with the price. We ended up having two of their security people with us and our own. So I'm wondering if, because we don't make an awful lot of money, if we don't hire a security guard, will that then enable us to make a little bit more?
Louise?
The reason that we hired our own security guard was when we had our initial talks with the university, I was told that it was better to get our own because if something happened on campus or with students that live off campus and their security guys needed to go, there may not be anybody to help with our event. That's why we brought in the police security.
They couldn't guarantee their security would be
No,
there, could
they
they?
couldn't.
But
No,
they
they
ended up
couldn't
having
guarantee
two there, so.
But
They did
why
say
they
that
set
they
them all
wouldn't have
down.
as many next time,
Yeah.
because they felt there was too many.
Yeah.
And we're happy, certainly within the office, we're happy to continue hiring our own security because we then know that they are solely there for our event. They're not dealing with anything else, they're just focused on us.
Yeah.
Right, that's a good point that this is raising actually.
Yeah.
John?
I'm good, Margaret made the point I was going to make, but yes.
No. So a very positive report, positive event.
Very,
And
very
also
good
quite a
night.
funny event. Not being a pun, it was a learning curve, and I think we suggested using this venue some time back. And with the work of the officers, we had to get to where we were.
Yeah.
It just offers consideration, future, other sorts of events that we might wish to discuss in the future that we do in partnership with the university. What that'll be, we don't know. But it's a good event, it's got a bar there.
Yeah.
It offers club type attitude. The staff behind the bar I thought were outstanding.
Really lovely.
Lovely people.
Yeah.
They couldn't do anything much to help, enough to help you.
Do any more to help.
Yeah, that's what I meant. You know what I meant.
I know what you meant. Yeah.
But anyway, we knew what we meant. So I think that is and I think, are we taking it as read that we'll review the amount of security taken on, the Donny said, what's necessary?
Should we look at it again after this next one?
Are we happy to do that?
Yeah.
And then we can review
Yeah.
the security then, because she makes a very good point. But when we're fighting hard to be able to put these events on, we're not careful, we're running an event to pay the security guards. I think that's where you're coming from.
Absolutely.
I would say they're not terribly expensive, one guard for, not a big budget.
It's not, but it's like this is Buckingham, not Camden. Like it's a relatively safe place.
I think we're going to review it.
Yeah.
Just a point on security, it's a visual deterrent. We don't know what may happen, but it's a visual deterrent, and it just stops people from misbehaving just by seeing the chap there.
Yeah.
And to me, yes, maybe the one as a visual deterrent would be fine.
So, taking that on board, are we happy to agree the recommendations?
Yeah.
Okay.
And are you happy to take a proposal that we look past the next event? We'll discuss the security and whether there's any future scope for other sorts of events there, which I think we need to have that discussion before we wreck it. It's not our building. Are you happy with that? Agree?
Yeah.
That agree?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Right, okay.
And we're going to increase ticket price, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
£15.
I don't think that's unfair. £15.
No.
Good night out.
Good night out for £15. Probably more than
Cheap
that.
as well.
Yeah, the beer's cheap. Well, that's the point. You must be the beer's cheap. It's true,
I
actually.
think we should include that in the advertising.
I don't think
No.
you got free parking and the beer's cheap. We're pushing our luck a bit there.
I don't even want to connect those two.
We might then have the need for the security guards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The soft drinks cheap as well.
They are.
It's a student union bar. Union, aren't they?
Okay, let's move on to 7.2, Easter event. The reports in here, we're happy to
Yes, accept.
accept.
Yeah.
Right, Spring Fair, there's a report in here, any points on that? Okay,
All good? Accepted.
accepted, May Day. Margaret,
Yes, I opened it, not Anya.
Yeah.
okay, we'll
Two
correct
point
that,
three. Can that be corrected for the
Yeah.
record, please?
and we're happy with the
Yeah.
recommendation that we'll move it down to
That's not a recommendation yet.
No. Okay, thank you.
It's
John?
noted.
Sorry, that was going to bring that up. I don't agree with moving it from Village Green down to one of the schools. We just finished Louise. Because I think it's, we have a Village Green. And if the Maypole dance is going to happen anywhere, it should happen on the Village Green. And whilst I appreciate it makes it a little bit further for some of the schools to get to, whichever school would then be chosen, would obviously benefit from it being on their locality. Other schools might have to go further. So, for example, Lace Hill, the Lace Hill school to get to North Meadow is probably further than it would be for them to get to the middle of the town. So I don't agree that this particular event should be anywhere else but the Village Green.
Yeah.
I'm opposed.
Margaret?
Yeah, thank you. I'm inclined to agree with that, but there were issues this year because of, I think if we do it on the Church Green again, it needs to not be on Tuesday to clash with the lunch. I think that was very unfortunate because that's every week and they do need access to car parking there. And I think one of the reasons why the teachers strongly proposed that it go to a school was to make it safer, because I think there were hazards there with them moving cars around with all those children there. So I think
it didn't exactly slow down for the children, and they just swung
It's
in.
an oversight though, isn't it?
Yeah.
It should be on the same day.
Well, that's the day that
Shrove Tuesday.
it Shrove Tuesday.
This is.
Makes the day after.
April.
But it is worth having that conversation because at the moment we're scheduled to have the pancake races on Shrove Tuesday, which is a Tuesday. So that's something we're going to have to review, I think.
because we maybe need to, because
Yeah, I agree.
can I continue? Because I rather got interrupted there. I think we do need to have more discussions with the church about access to the car park, and that's a valid point about Shrove Tuesday, because it would be that clearly Shrove Tuesday is a Tuesday, whereas May Day wouldn't have to be a Tuesday. That's movable. But if we do want to go ahead with the pancake races on a Tuesday, we need to have the agreement of the church. Either they don't do a lunch that day, or they can have the lunch at the centre in Burnley Close, except that's not big enough for the numbers of people who come along at the time.
So next year, I've just looked, May Day itself is a Wednesday, 1st of May. Also, I was going to say that, do we not start the pancake race about 10 o'clock or something like that? What time does we normally do that? Like, it should be done and dusted before the church lunch anyway, isn't it?
We're not discussing the pancake.
No, I know we're not necessarily discussing the pancake race, but we are discussing events at the church, and Margaret brought up the pancake race.
It's an unusual place, isn't it? We own the field, they own the church. Car park's still undetermined, and parking around school.
But anyway, what I'm trying to say is, I think we should carry on doing it at the Village Green. As Joyce and John says, I think once it went to a school, it becomes a school event rather than a town event.
Okay, there was the person who organises the Maypole who suggested doing this. Without them, can't really do it. So I think this needs a very careful discussion around it.
It's an event though.
It might be our event, but we can't do it without a Maypole, and we can't do it without children. So we can have a May Day event, but we need evidence. I think we need to nuance down a bit on this and allow the views of the councillors to be discussed around our concern. We can take this concern about moving the event away from town, and let's take that discussion back to the people who facilitate the event, and then if you're happy that we'll put it after those discussions, what the outcome of those discussions on the next agenda. Because I don't think being prescriptive with somebody who's a volunteer and put something together and saying who asked to move it to another event, always going to produce a good outcome. And I think the event's more important, plural. So I think we can say that I take the majority of people here are concerned about removing the event from the church. The discussion about how we work with the church is a separate issue. We need to, that needs to be an ongoing thing. And the church and us, that needs to be a separate issue. But are members happy if I propose that we take the general view here that we're reluctant to move it from the church, and we go away and have discussions with the people who provide the equipment and the knowledge to be able to do this event, and bring that back to the next meeting, rather than, because if they say, well, I want you to do it there for these reasons, and they're good, strong reasons, we should hear them, and not be so prescriptive with it, because we work in partnership with people, not telling people. So I'm suggesting that as a way forward, and I'm being wagged up, I'm thinking there.
I wanted to echo Robin a little bit there, that there is no recommendation on this report that we do anything.
No.
They have asked us to do it. It would be reasonable for us to go away and have that conversation and see if they did, as Robin says, have some really reasonable reasons for why they wanted to do that, and if actually that makes sense.
We haven't got that here.
But that's not here, and that's not in this report.
And we're prejudging it before we hear their point of view. And I don't think that's the best way to do anything in partnership. My experience of that is you lose partnership with that. Are we happy with that? John?
Yeah, I'm happy with that. I see where you're coming from the Louise. I understand that. But this is the first year. I mean, every previous year has been no question of it happening up there. There seemed to be a chance. But it's not until 2029 and it's on Tuesday again.
No, I know, but
yeah, accept what you're saying, Rob. Accept it. It makes sense to go into a discussion with a more or less sort of opinion. Yeah, I get that.
And out of that we'll get a better outcome. But I do think points that Margaret raised about the discussion with church, will leave that to officers to go away and have those discussions. Because it's plural about other events we've done up there. When we did the theatre project up there, we shut it off because we closed the gate and didn't let people in.
With school holidays.
It was school holidays as well. But I do think that people just drove in, and there was young children there, and the dinner was the priority, and there was lots of little people there, and it alarmed the staff who've got responsibility for their children's safeguarding issues.
Yeah.
And I think that's really reasonable staff to bring that to our attention. They don't, anything goes wrong, it's their job, their livelihood. And we must respect that.
Yeah.
So I think you're happy with that, and we know the report, and we go away and we'll bring back afterwards.
Agreed.
Thank you. Where we got to May Day, Coronation weekend.
Noted.
Noted.
Yeah.
Yeah. We now have Kim.
No, just for what is it worth just noting with thanks all the efforts that various volunteers took?
Yes, I think
Yeah.
To make the town look pretty.
You going to
Yes.
close that, John?
And that can be for the sample of the flags, line one team with the WI, the whole kit and caboodle, all who actually helped make that happen. I think we should ignore it with thanks.
Is that proposed?
Yeah.
Then?
Yeah.
Second in many places, all three. Thank you. On a personal note, I did think that the civic service went very well. I think didn't go on too long for me. And I always find it difficult, those sort of things. I think it was just about right. The temperament of it was right. Those who took part in it did it. And I thank, like we called our previous mayor, thanks for her facilitating that event, because I think it added something to the weekend which those who attended it and wanted to be part of it got something really good out of it. And we shouldn't walk past that without recording our thanks to Councillor Gatey, with Mayor and the officers facilitating that event. It was very well attended, and we got the Lord Lieutenant to the event, and those who did the readings were tremendous. And I managed to get through it and behave, which was
Very nice fairy cakes as well.
Oh, we had a fairy cake, yeah. So can we please record that in the minutes?
Yeah.
Margaret.
Can I say a special thank you to Paula for all her hard work for that event, because Paula was heading that up.
Yeah.
Moving on to less formal occasions. Music in the market, verbal update. Market board.
Music in the market was, so a week ago Sunday,
That's it.
bank holiday. It was opened by our new mayor, Councillor Schaefer, and our new town crier, Patrick Laws. It was organised by the Acoustic Club as usual, but John Howarth has stepped down, and Susie Smith, Pete Thirlby and Udo stepped in, booked all the bands and everything. And I think out of all the time I've been here, this was one of the best music in the markets we've had. They were all local bands. There was a variety of things. You could do Bollywood dancing. There was Morris Men from Brackley, the children's choir.
Strange one.
Yeah. There's children's choir, Stagecoach, Buckingham, the performing arts group were here as well. And it ended with a DJ, which I think some of us were a bit surprised at, how's this going to go down? There was no actual headline band. When I spoke to Udo about it, he said, no, we're having a DJ at the end. And I think that DJ would have kept going all night long, given the chance. They were good. But it was a good night. Thank you for those that came out and helped litter pick at the end. It's really appreciated, and it makes us be able to go home a lot earlier than in the past when we've been there at midnight.
And past.
And past, yeah.
It's lovely.
I have sometimes left there at 1, haven't
Yes.
which was good.
Yeah, two things. I'm sorry I missed it, but I was elsewhere that weekend, and it was great that there was poetry there as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Which was good to hear.
And we look forward to you reading next year, John. Now we know that you joined the poetry organisation. I was tipped off the other day, you're an added contender of the poetry. And we look forward to you reading next year. We'll keep you to that.
I think there was music there for all tastes. There was country and folk music, 60s, 70s and 80s.
Songs from the
There was
2000s.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
But it was I think one of the best that we've had, and the weather was on our side as well. It was sunny, warm.
Thank you, Amanda. I think one of the things I noticed, which was different, Susie had arranged all these young performers at the very early part of the evening. Great thing about that was that the parents come to watch the young people. So there was a crowd there from when the mayor opened it, there was already people there to receive it, which any of us who have been involved in the opening it to the street. Actually opening it to an audience, I should imagine, was much more joyous occasion than opening it to the street. And I think we should write to them with agreement, thank them for the effort they've done, and say that we generally thought that it was a good event. Susie's energy throughout the day was ending. I mean, how she kept going all day, enthusiastic, announcing all these things and whatever. She was buoyant throughout the day. I was there all day, and I thought it went well. And even managed to get a kebab.
But you weren't buoyant all day then.
I'm usually buoyant. I was talking all day. I did a lot of talking. My in-tray grew during the day, which is what happens at the evening, and still them emails at night. But yeah, But no, I think they're good. Are we happy to agree to write to them?
Yeah.
The committee and thank them for their work and look forward to working with them next year.
Yeah.
Right. All in favour of that, just for your things. Thank you. Thank you. Calendar of events is attached.
Noted.
No.
Yeah, noted.
So I've got one answer. Did I miss the email inviting us to the raising of the pride flag?
Yes, there was an email.
Yes, there was an email.
So I've looked for it, I can't see it.
Yeah, I
I
don't
don't
think
think
I
I got it.
I didn't get it.
Well, whether I knew about it or copy it.
I didn't know about it. I should have known, it's the first two, but I didn't know about it. I wasn't-
Amanda said there was an email.
And perhaps Amanda can check when she sent it.
Yeah, I'll check tomorrow.
Yeah, I've looked, I can't see it in my.
It was early.
When was this?
I searched on Pride in,
Yeah.
and nothing comes
I'll
up.
have a look.
Okay,
Can
yeah,
I just
yeah.
log one change to the events calendar, which is that we had listed the BFG event in Gorka as part of the Fringe, but we're not actually going to include it in the advertising now because it is sold out. It's not really, we'd rather use the space for other things that aren't sold out.
Okay. That's big. Okay, yeah, that's the get that correct, that's the one that Mortonville.
That's right.
You said the one in Gorka? Yeah.
Mortonville Football Club. Yeah, well, in which case there's no point in promoting it.
No, there's no,
I know that they've sold out.
yes, very good.
So they took for their club.
Mhm.
Okay, action, are we having to note those?
Yep.
Is that agreed?
Yeah,
Show of hands. Right, okay. Louise likes that, I'm looking down.
Exercise, Robin.
It's good exercise for us, yeah. Which brings us to 18, which is action list. And on those, is there anything on those action lists you think we need to discuss further?
No, a lot of it was on the agenda already, so.
Are we happy?
Best Kept Village.
Yeah, fine.
I think it's councillor Harvey and myself are going out tomorrow
Yeah.
to have a look at various locations around the town. I had sent an email out. I'll come now.
Thank you.
I'll talk to you afterwards.
Going out tomorrow.
There may be a reason out of my control, I'll talk to you.
What I was going to say was, if anybody would like to join us tomorrow, we're meeting outside the library at 2:00. We're not looking at the condition of the roads, curbstones, potholes and things like that. It's that sort of thing is not going to be judged in Best Kept Village. We'll be looking at like the notice boards, the river and different bits and pieces like that.
Okay, Margaret.
Yeah, thank you. Just what Amanda just said. Can we make sure all our old things about the Coronation Trail and I don't know what else, they've all come down because, you know, they seem to have been very slow being removed. Our own event things that have gone up.
Can somebody get rid of the cobwebs from around the window out there outside?
Yeah, that's not a bad thing.
Fair suggestion, let me write it.
It doesn't look good, does it? We've got content. I mean, I'm not saying I haven't got any at home myself. But
Yeah, but then they're probably not going around your house, are they?
well, if they are, we've got a problem. There is a big problem. I have. Yeah, I shouldn't be very worried. But shan't be dead easy enough. Thank you. So we're happy to note that, and we move on to 4.3. See a letter from Transport, but which, you know, we discussed we would do a press release on this, and we've agreed to do a press release on it before. We've been various communications that work for us to read and then for us to read. I think at the end of all this, this letter is not. It's not great in its explanation of what they're going to do with it.
No.
At least they did it last time, wasn't it?
Yeah, I remain. I remain quite miserable about this because the reason we brought it here was we had a discussion, didn't we, about old members of our community, young people tripping over in the town centre. It went back, so we've even had members of our staff tripping over in the town centre at events. We've even had councillors tripping over events, and we've seen people doing, and I don't really think this is adequate, and maybe I'm on my own. Councillor Harvey.
Well, it's an interesting letter, isn't it? Because it talks about that they have meetings with members to help prioritise where their resources are spent to improve highways and carriageways and footways. I had something of a fairly long Twitter exchange with Councillor White a few weeks ago, because I was saying I don't think members should be involved in that level of operational detail. I think the decisions about what is needed to be repaired, I think it's okay for members to highlight things, but the ultimate decision should be down to the professional officers involved to judge what needs fixing, what doesn't, because you can measure these things with rulers. Because the worry is that political capital is taken from when things get fixed, as if members have somehow schmoozed the officers to get their particular patch done. I think that's wrong, and I think that's it's not exactly corrupt, but it feels a bit cronish, and it just means that I fear that the Buckinghamshire Council will favour areas where they have councillors that represent the ruling group, and not favour areas where there are councillors that don't. Or when the councillors within the ruling group who are not in favour. And we know there's a lot of that within the group, given the size of it, obviously. I think we should write back and say we would expect, as a professional organisation ourselves, the final decisions should be made by the officers. By all means, members should be involved in making rural strategy and saying what the resources are. Of course, that's our job as members, but members should not be involved in making operational decisions of the kind hinted at in the letter by Ms. Turner.
I think the letter is badly drafted in that respect, because I have to say, as a Buckinghamshire councillor, I will be attending a meeting, what they call a local priorities meeting. In the local priorities meeting in Buckinghamshire Council, what you are allowed to do is put forward schemes, large schemes for work. Some of those could be footpaths, some of those could be whatever, and they seem to have this point where members pick a priority scheme, and then it has to go up to be approved, and then it has to get work for assistance. But you raise a good point about the impression it gives, that you somehow have got influence over it, and that's the way the council chooses to allocate sections of its funding on priority schemes, which I can make comment on as a local member. I mean, and I always found that different. You remember at full council, the question was asked of myself by a councillor who isn't here today, what's happening with the Top Angel, which we've all discussed endlessly about the failed road at Top Angel. And I said, I understand it's in a scheme. Well, I haven't had confirmation that it's going to be completed, because I wasn't wanting to claim any credit after 10 years for something which should have been mended 10 years ago. I don't see it as any great victory if it does get mended. Others may want to claim credit for it, but I don't think there's anything to claim credit for at this time. You made a good point, but the principle of the correspondence we had, John, was not the actions and true actions of Buckinghamshire Council's policies around the way it deals with its members, which is a separate question. It was about the condition of the street, the fact that it's deteriorating, the fact that we haven't seen any notable uplift. And one of the areas which you might not see it often enough, it's got cars on it, but when it hasn't got cars on it, it's the stones outside the old jam. You walk along there, they're all loose. It shouldn't be so that they're all loose, and actually it's always parked on. And when we have events there in the town centre, it's very unlevel. When we had an event only the other week up in the runway, you'll notice how the town centre is deteriorating. People have tripped over crossing from the old Whale by what was the Whale pub. favourite place, one of the favourite places for all over is outside the jewellers. And if I get asked again by the ladies in the jewellers who knock on the window and say, when are you going to fix it? Because we're fed up of watching people fall outside our shop. Because the slab comes up when people tread on the other side of it and they catch their toe on the other side of it. If you go down by the King's Head, we've been discussing that for a long time. I don't think it's appropriate that a market town like Buckingham should have so many temporary repairs and so many repairs waiting to do, which clearly have been reported by somebody. And the thing that upsets me most is when I meet old people and I can show you photographic evidence of their broken wrists if we needed to, that they don't report them because they can't go and fix my streets.
Yeah.
They're not able to do that. They're not able to write because they broke the hand that they were going to write with. And it should not be so. They need to come back. We wanted a work programme of what they were going to do. A list. If they said they were going to do this bit this year and that bit next year, you could say, well, they're trying. Well, they've sent this back here if they're talking to their local councils. Well, the local councils clearly aren't doing what I want them to do, which is to get some of these works done. And that's rant over. Councillor
David. Thanks. People the scrap carriage.
I phoned her up the other day because I thought I phoned the wrong
You got the
number.
wrong number.
I wanted
He
the
asked me
MOT.
for an MOT.
I phoned
Anyway. I was going to say that for ages, we were told once the new contractor comes into place, these things will get sorted out, these things will get done. I believe the new contractor has been in place for nearly 2 months now. There or thereabouts. I see lots of little white lines getting put on roads and places, but I can't see any work actually being done on them.
You are forgetting that they have painted the car park.
Because they painted the car park.
Sorry, you don't need to minute that one.
I guess one of the observations I've made myself that it's been painted.
I think you and lots of other people have noticed that the car park has
Well,
been
they keep
painted.
painting over the cracks, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what they've done. They've
Which is the period where we are. Are we happy?
No.
No. Are we happy that I think that we exhaust the amount of time we can correspond with them to benefit? And as we use the town centre, and we are town centre and events committee, but we finally get to the point where we write a press release around the deep disappointment of the committee, not one person, in the fabric of our town, deterioration of the pavements,
on the roads.
and the hazards and the roads for a market town with such historic value as Buckingham. And please, could we have an improvement? Because it isn't been an improvement, it's been a series of go away letters, hasn't it, really? You know, we're talking to the Buckinghamshire councillors, we're talking to those. Well, they're not talking to us, and they get our agendas. And they could have come in here at any point, at any meeting, and advised us of what they were doing. And to say, oh, they haven't been consulted, well, they read the minutes of the agendas.
As you said, this isn't a schedule. That's what we've asked.
We've asked for a schedule, and there's no schedule of work being guaranteed to be done. There obviously has been no oversight. I think that's fair. We can't see the oversight, we can't see the schedule of work. How we word it around there? I don't know. Anybody else got any better suggestions around that? Because I think that this has been on our agenda for a long time. John?
No, I agree with all of that. I'd also say that somebody falling could be a life-changing incident. We know that a lot of people go into care homes as a result of broken hips and broken wrists and so on, because suddenly they're not able to be okay at home. So it's a serious problem that needs some serious attention. This letter is not it.
No. So are we happy with that sort of broad outline around what we're going to say?
Yes.
Yeah.
What I think it's important, because this is a committee press release, not a share a committee press release, that we get a formal version, we send it round to members.
No, Robin, ultimately all press releases are issued by the town clerk. It's not up to the committee to write press.
Well, we're writing the statement of what we want. This is a political decision. We're afraid to write this. It's not a office. It is a political decision about the people falling out of town. Nothing more political than someone with a broken wrist.
If you want to release a statement separately, you're welcome to do that. But any press release from the office is issued by the town clerk.
What
This is right,
What, all right, okay, well, we'll issue a press release. Are you happy with what we said? But it's a committee view, not
Yes,
everyone.
it will be on behalf of the Tuesday meeting committee.
Okay. Can I see the press release, what goes out, or we get a town clerk? Otherwise, we might as well pack up and go home.
So you can see it, Robin, but you can't write it.
Thank you for that. So we can get elected, we can choose who works where, but we can't choose what we say.
You can have individuals.
Well, it's just me a quote from you, Rob.
I'm being facetious.
I think this is a very, it's worth having this conversation, and that is that you as individuals can make statements as an individual. But yes, the view of the council has to come from clerk, and that is in your standing orders and regs.
Okay, so we didn't recognise you. Okay, we'll sort that out later. I've been facetious when I said that. You know what I was. Okay, in which case, after long deliberation of many months of correspondence, we finally are able to make a press release about something we wanted to do last year. So we've written 16 grades now. Okay, which case, press release, that is next item.
Okay, so you're proposing that?
Yeah, is that everyone happy with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, great.
Seconder? Frank?
Agreed.
Right. Chairman's item. Just to let you all know, you might have picked up in the which I was interested in, as they would do events. That you would have picked up that both our football clubs are combined, which now working forward they're going to work together collaboratively with the Athletic Club and the Buckingham United. I think that that's interesting in the sense that those of us who remembers that was never able to be achieved between the town and the Athletic Club all those years ago when they tried to combine. And that probably shows us the economics of it, but it's generally a good thing that the club's going to continue. And I think that it's just an information that I've seen it, I was quite interested in it, especially as I found out they all met down the day and had their meeting down here. But I think it's worth noting, it'll be interesting to watch what happens with that in the next 12 months. Because the Athletic Club obviously offered its 1933. No short time ago. And the Robins disappeared long ago. And Buckingham United came as a new club 6 years ago. So they're actually combining. So that's probably a good thing for the wonders of women's football, ladies football, and walking football for people who don't want to run around anymore. I am not taking up walking football, whatever it is. I think more talking than walking.
Never.
No. Talking football. I can talk football.
I'd just like to interject on that point. When we parked the car on Saturday, because I gave Robin a lift over to the thing, he said, "It's a long way, isn't it?" It's like half a field. Yeah.
Then we met John who walked all the way there. I think that's impressive, isn't it? I'm back again. But I was very well there. Anyway, thank you very much for your patience tonight. And I think we've had a good debate about lots of things and we moved things on. Now we know that we have a press release. The date of the next meeting will be the 24th of July, with many of the additional things that you're concerned about will be on the agenda. And we will whatever for Fringe by then. We'll be in the middle of it. It'll be about it's running. Anyway, thank you again for your generosity and keeping me. It's appreciated. I really enjoyed it.
Gavel.